Dick indeed. Coming up, Gavin Morris will have the weather details for us.
The all-new Hyundai Tucson has been acclaimed as a landmark medium SUV.
Well, time to get the very latest on our weather now with Gav.
Thank you very much, Paul. Well, we've certainly had a hot week, very humid again today. One of those southerlies, not overly cool, but plenty of moisture wrapped up in it. The southerly set to continue across the weekend and into the early part of next week. Eddie Groot, though, caught just about every sunset colour possible in this one, looking west from Jimmy's Beach. A beautiful photo there and a beautiful part of the world. Rain falling over central Australia during the past 24 hours, hitting the red centre. Scattered falls still right throughout the tropical north. In the west, the trough line is dipping down, but it's allowing all of the heat from central Australia now to move westward. We're seeing a little bit of relief here build right throughout the southeast. Ex-tropical cyclone Winston there. Looks like it's just going to hover offshore of the Queensland coast, and now the swell is arriving. It's been getting bigger and bigger throughout today for all of the east coast. We've got two swells, the southerly swell combined with the northerly swell, and it's going to peak for us throughout tomorrow. But so too is those onshore winds. The cloud and the showers will have a burst pushing through during the early hours of the morning and into tomorrow before it tracks on northward to the mid-north coast. But you can see it's very much an onshore influence that is settling in, somewhat gusty throughout tomorrow before backing off from Sunday. But it's still going to be quite moderate to strong. There's that big horseshoe trough line yet again. Scorch on the way there for Perth. It's got its heat back. They've had an excruciatingly hot summer, and they've got another heat wave lining them up. Storms along that trough line. The Alice gets a reprieve. Beautiful in Adelaide. Cooler but humid throughout the southeast, and for Sydney, still hot for Brisbane throughout tomorrow. This is what we hit today. Still cracking the mid-30s throughout the Upper Hunter. It was the low to mid-20s along the coast across the suburbs, but high humidity levels prevailed. It was very sticky yet again, sitting just below 90% along the coast at the moment. The pressure rising and the winds still very much out of the south to southwest. Now tomorrow they'll switch around to the southeast, and they'll be pushing straight in across the valley, Port Stephens and the central coast, and they're going to be quite gusty. Showers in the morning and then breaking up a little bit throughout the day, easing off. Again, there's not much in it for us. We'll have little bits, drizzle patches at times underneath that cloud cover, and there'll be a little pushing further inland throughout the valley. Temperature-wise, again, it's going to be mid to high 20s, humid, cloud affected with showers, more so during the earlier hours. Overnight we'll probably have a little bit, and into tomorrow morning before backing off as we move through the weekend. Only topping out in the high 20s across the valley throughout tomorrow, so it is a big switcheroo there in comparison to the high 30s that we've experienced yesterday. Seas and swell way up there. The swell now up to 3 metres. It's going to be big. It's going to be quite dangerous. There's going to be a lot of water moving around. With the two swells, you've got the southerly and the northerly there driving through, so it's going to be quite messy. Seas up to 2 metres as well. Strong wind warning has been issued. Rock fishing, very dangerous, not recommended at all. Pretty big tides overnight. You've got the low tide early, just before 6, and the high there smack on 12 midday. Sun to rise at about 6:38, down at 7:33 with that moon now continually waning away. Looking ahead at this forecast, most of the shower activity moving through tomorrow, then drying out into the early part of next week, and then we'll see the heat return. It's going to rebuild, particularly for the valley, which will be lucky to see a shower or two. You get a little bit throughout tomorrow. Maybe some storms around the mountain areas. They'll certainly be possible. There'll be a little bit of instability up around the Barringtons and also off to the Waddicans to the south, but overall Sunday looking good. Still very warm, humid, up around 30 degrees before the mid-30s return. Very similar story for the Central Coast. Overnight showers and a little bit more throughout tomorrow morning before warming up next week. Well, as we saw during the news, it was a blown-out affair with the southerly howling. It came through really early, really strong. It was moving fast overnight, and that's why it closed in first thing this morning. But what it has brought with it, a brand new swell, and it's going to be an interesting weekend for the finals of Surfest. So we'll see how it all going to stack up throughout throughout tomorrow. Those onshore southeasterly winds are going to settle somewhat during Sunday for the finals, so we may have some nice waves there, maybe some A-frames with those two swells gelling together, because it's still going to come down from the north, even more so in the coming days. So some pretty interesting sets will unfold. It's likely to peak in size throughout tomorrow. Water temperature is cooling a little bit. For your local news, stories, update anytime, you can log on nbnnews.com.au.
Thanks, Gav. Finally tonight, hurricane-force winds have produced incredible waves on Hawaii's North Shore for the famed Eddie Aikau Invitational.
Just plain scary.
Yeah.
Cowabunga for sure.
Spirit of Eddie lives on.
That is the latest news.
Have a great weekend.
Good night.
Good night.